All right, let's dive in. Today we're looking at some Google Cloud platform updates. Should be pretty interesting, especially if you're newer to Google Cloud or, want to see what's what. Think new virtual machines, some AI tools, even security stuff that sounds kind of like it's from a spy movie.
Yeah, lots to cover, but no worries, we'll break it all down. The cool thing I'm seeing is Google Cloud is really focused on giving you the right tools for whatever you're building. Doesn't matter if it's a simple website or like processing mountains of data.
Okay, so right off the bat, these compute engine updates, there's a ton of them, right? Seems like Google Cloud's really emphasizing options for virtual machines.
Absolutely. It's part of this bigger cloud trend,
Mhm.
specialization. Having VMs that are perfect for certain tasks means better performance, and that usually saves money too. Like take their new C4A virtual machines.
T4A, correct.
Right, so they use Google's own Axion processors, which are made for real-time stuff. So if you need speed, like super fast responses,
Yeah,
financial transactions, gaming, that sort of thing.
C4A is the way to go.
Gotcha. Exactly. And then on top of that, you've got all these ways to BUY these VMs. On-demand, spot instances, you can reserve them, even discounts depending on what you need. It's flexible.
Flexibility, yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, Google Cloud's been busy with their AI hypercomputer platform too.
Oh, yeah, that's their big name for all the AI hardware and software they've got. One really cool thing is now you can try out Cloud TPUs. Those are their special AI processors right in Colab. That's that free online coding environment.
So anyone can get a taste of like super advanced AI without needing fancy hardware themselves.
Precisely. And for those who need that power, there's the A3 VM series. These are meant for like serious machine learning, training, high performance computing, that kind of stuff.
I'm no data scientist, so break it down for me.
Right.
What would someone actually use that for?
Okay, imagine training a huge AI to understand language, like really understand it, or running simulations to predict the weather, things that need a ton of computing power. That's where A3 VMs shine. They're packed with GPUs, the graphical processing units, workhorses for AI and complex calculations.
So like regular car versus a race car. Depends if you're doing errands or going for speed.
Exactly. And even within the A3 series, they've got this high option now with even more powerful GPUs. So again, more choices depending what you need. And you can get to these A3 VMs in a bunch of ways, through Vertex AI, Google Kubernetes engine, or just regular compute engine. It's all about fitting your specific workflow.
That's wild. But I got to be honest, my head's spinning a little with all these options. It's like walking into a huge store with a million products. Where do you even start?
I hear you. It can be overwhelming. That's why they made Workload Manager. This service is all about making sure your cloud setup is following best practices, helps you navigate all this stuff.
Workload manager.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more. Sounds like this could be my new best friend.
Think of it like guardrails for your cloud setup, right? You can set rules that make sure everything's done properly across your Google Cloud resources.
Like what kind of rules? Give me a real-world example. I'm all about practicality.
Sure. So let's say you want every virtual machine to have at least one label on it, just for organization. You can make a rule in Workload Manager to automatically enforce that. No more accidentally launching a VM without a label.
Ooh, smart. That'd definitely prevent some headaches later when I'm trying to remember what each VM is, even FOR.
Precisely. Or you could have a rule that says, no using the default service account for my VMs. That's a common security thing, good practice. Workload Manager just takes care of it automatically. You can focus on building your app without worrying about messing up the configuration.
So it's like having this assistant that never gets tired, constantly making sure I'm not making dumb mistakes.
You got it. It's all about lowering risk, better security, and making cloud management way simpler.
Okay, that I like. But we got to talk about AI too, right? All this buzz about generative AI.
Yeah.
And it looks like Google Cloud is right in the mix. They've got this Vertex AI Gen AI evaluation service. Still in preview, but sounds really cool.
Oh, generative AI is huge, EE. It's what makes those AI models that can, like, write poems, compose music, even make realistic pictures from just text prompts. It's wild. But with that power comes the need to be careful, make sure it's being used right.
So it's not just about did the AI get the right answer. It's about understanding how it got there.
Exactly. Vertex AI Gen AI evaluation goes deeper. It lets you look at the AI's reasoning, creativity, its whole thought process. It's like grading an essay, not just a multiple choice test.
That's a great way to put it. So it sounds like this service gives users more control over how they evaluate these powerful AIs.
Exactly. You can set your own custom metrics that match what you care about. It's all about making sure these AI models aren't just spitting out answers, but that they're reliable, fair, and doing things ethically.
Speaking of ethical considerations, cybersecurity is always on my mind, especially with cloud stuff. It's interesting to see how Google Cloud is connecting cybersecurity to, like, actual business impact.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about technical weaknesses anymore. It's about what could happen to your entire organization if there's a cyber attack. The real world consequences.
So break it down for me. What kind of impact are we talking about?
Well, they highlight a few key things. First off, financial losses. Data breaches can cost a company a lot of money.
Yeah, no one wants to see their revenue just vanish because of a cyber attack.
Right. And then there's the hit to your reputation. That can make customers lose trust. These days, reputation is everything online, and an attack can ruin that fast.
Like a domino effect.
Yeah,
One breach leads to distrust, then you lose customers, and then the money starts going away.
exactly. And then there's the legal stuff. Depending on what happened, what data was involved, you could be looking at fines, lawsuits, even criminal charges in some cases. It's serious.
Wow, that's a pretty sobering list. It really makes you realize that cybersecurity isn't just an IT problem. It affects everyone. It's a business problem.
Right, and that's what Google Cloud is recognizing. They're tying security to these real-world business impacts. Makes sense, because then cybersecurity matters to everyone, not just the tech people.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears for a sec. What about the software we're using in the first place? How do we know it's trustworthy, secure, all that?
Great question. Gets to the heart of the software supply chain. Think of it like how a product goes from raw materials to being on a store shelf. Except here, we're talking about the code, tools, libraries, everything that goes into making software.
So it's not just the software itself, but everything that went into building it.
Yep, the whole ecosystem. And with so many parts involved, things can go wrong. That's where something like SLSA comes in, stands for Supply Chain Levels for Software Artifacts. It's basically standards and best practices to make sure your software supply chain is solid. No weak links.
Like quality control for making software.
Exactly. And Google Cloud's serious about this, especially for their Google Kubernetes engine, GKE. They're using SLSA to make it way more secure.
Okay, how does that actually work?
Yeah.
How's SLSA making GKE better?
Well, for starters, you get way more detailed audit logs. Think of it like security cameras with higher resolution. You can see what's happening in your GKE environment with much more detail, no more blurry footage.
More transparency then, and accountability. Always good.
Right. Building on that, any new GKE clusters you make, they automatically send their logs to your project for security monitoring. Like having all your security footage streamed straight to headquarters for analysis makes things much easier.
Nice. No more manually gathering logs from all over the place. Saves time and makes things more efficient.
Exactly. And it gets better. They're now publishing these attestations for GKE images. Think of them like digital certificates, proof that the software is legit, like a tamper-proof seal.
So I can be sure the GKE image I'm using hasn't been messed with.
Precisely. And you can actually verify this yourself using an open source tool. That level of transparency builds trust, gives you peace of mind knowing what you're using is the real deal.
Love that. Focus on transparency and security. Like being able to trace your food back to the farm. Okay, but what about confidential computing? The name itself sounds super secure.
It was Dennis. It's about keeping your data safe, even while it's being UASD. Big deal in cloud security.
Sounds like magic, honestly.
Okay, think of it this way. Normally, your data is encrypted when it's just sitting there or being moved around, but when it's actually being processed, it's usually decrypted, right? Makes it vulnerable. Confidential computing changes that. It lets the data stay encrypted even while the CPU is working on it.
Well, that's impressive. It's like having a safe inside your computer that even the computer can't fully open.
Exactly. And Google Cloud's making progress here with confidential GKE nodes. These things enforce data encryption within your whole Kubernetes environment, so even if someone gets into the infrastructure, they can't easily get to your sensitive data.
An extra layer of protection around my data? Love it. But isn't this stuff, like, super complicated to manage?
Not really. Google's made confidential GKE nodes much easier to use, especially since they're now available on GKE Autopilot.
Remind me what autopilot is again. Kubernetes stuff, right?
Yeah, it's basically self-driving for your Kubernetes clusters. automates a lot of the management tasks, makes running your apps way simpler.
So I can focus on building the app and let Autopilot take care of the boring, complex stuff underneath.
Exactly. It's all about making Kubernetes user-friendly, even if you're not a Kubernetes expert.
That's a huge plus. But it's not just about the tech itself, right?
Huh.
It's about how real companies are using it. L'Oreal, the big beauty company, they're a good example.
Absolutely. They've been on a big MLOps journey using Google Cloud to build a whole platform for managing their machine learning from start to finish.
Before we go too deep on L'Oreal's adventure, can you remind me what IS MLOps, for those who don't know?
It's like DevOps, but for machine learning. All about collaboration, automation, constantly making things better, but applied to the whole process of developing, deploying, managing machine learning models.
So it's like having a finely tuned machine for building and using AI.
That's a great way to put it. And that's what L'Oreal's done with Google Cloud. They can get new AI-powered products and services out there way faster. A&D, their models are better quality, more reliable.
Nice, a win-win. It really showed how the cloud can help companies innovate faster and give their customers more value.
Brings us back to that theme of flexibility and choice we keep seeing with these Google Cloud updates.
You got it. It's clear they're focused on making a platform that can adapt to all sorts of needs and situations. And they're doing it in a way that's powerful but also accessible, which is a tough balance to strike. Well said. Yeah, we've covered a lot. Think it's time for a break? Let's let all this info sink in. We'll be back with more Google Cloud updates and see how they're shaping the future of cloud computing. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We were just talking about L'Oreal and their MLOps platform on Google Cloud.
Yeah, it's a cool example. They're using all these Google Cloud tools to manage the entire life cycle of their machine learning.
Right.
Building, training, deploying those models, monitoring how they do, the whole thing.
Sounds like they've gone all in on the whole MLOps idea.
Totally. And they're seeing the results. They're able to get new stuff powered by AI out to the market way faster than before.
How they can innovate quicker, which these days is super important.
For sure. Plus, the quality of their AI models is better, more reliable, too. It's not just about speed.
Really shows how powerful MLOps can be if you want to use AI effectively as a company. Speaking of powerful stuff, remember Kubernetes? We were talking about how even competitors like Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, they're all working together to make it better.
Yep. And one thing that came out of that is Crow, the Kube resource orchestrator.
Crow. This is a mouthful. What is it in plain English?
Yeah.
For those of us who aren't Kubernetes wizards.
Okay, so picture this. You're building this complex app in Kubernetes, lots of different parts that got to work together smoothly.
Like different services, databases, things like that.
Exactly. And normally you'd have to manage all those separate parts in Kubernetes one by one. Can get messy fast.
So Crow helps tidy things up.
Yep. With Crow, you define all those parts as one unit called a resource graph.
So instead of juggling a bunch of pieces, you treat them all as one big thing.
You got it. And you can manage that whole graph with a single command, which makes deploying and configuring everything way easier.
I bet developers love that. Less time wasted.
For sure. Plus, less chance of making mistakes when you're not manually fiddling with each little part.
So, simpler management, more reliable. I like it. Speaking of reliability, remember the Horizontal Pod Autoscaler, the HPA, that thing that helps your app scale up and down in Kubernetes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it automatically adjusts how many pods are running based on, how much demand there is, right?
Right. Think of it as a thermostat, but for your apps. Keeps them running smoothly no matter how much traffic's coming in.
So if my app suddenly gets super popular, the HPA just spins up more pods to handle all the new visitors.
Exactly. And when things calm down, it scales back to save resources. No waste.
Like a kitchen that magically expands when you've got a dinner party, then shrinks back down when everyone's gone.
Haha, love that. And the HPA in Google Kubernetes Engine, it's gotten even better. Faster scaling, can handle way more traffic, and it's more predictable too. Works like a charm.
That's great news for anyone using GKE.
For sure. Makes it even more powerful and efficient for apps that need to scale. But scalability is not the only thing, right? Flexibility matters too, especially when it comes to how your network's set up.
True, true. And it looks like Google Cloud's made some tweaks to GKE networking, something about decoupling control plane access from node pool IP configuration.
Yeah, that one's a bit technical, but basically you've got the GKE control plane, that's like the brain of your Kubernetes cluster, and the worker nodes, they're the muscles that actually run your apps. Before, access to the control plane and how the IPs for those nodes were set up, they were really tightly linked,
So if you changed one, it messed with the other.
basically. But now they've separated those things, so you've got more control over how you connect to the control plane and how you set up the IP addresses for your nodes, like having separate control panels for the brain and the muscles.
Makes sense. Gives you more options for security policies, connecting with other Google Cloud stuff, and making your GKE setup work exactly how you need it.
You got it. This change is going to make a lot of people happy, especially those who want really fine-grained control over how their GKE stuff's set up.
Another example of Google Cloud listening to their users and giving them more options.
Love it. Okay, let's talk databases for a bit. Remember Spanner, Google's database that's known for being super reliable and able to handle tons of data.
Spanner. Yeah, it's a beast.
And now they've added something called Spanner Graph, which sounds pretty interesting.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Basically, it brings the power of graph databases to Spanner. So now you can manage and analyze data that's all connected in a graph structure.
Give me some examples. When would you actually use something like Spanner Graph?
Okay, imagine building a social network where you need to keep track of how people are connected. Or maybe you're making a recommendation engine, figuring out what products people might like based on what they've bought before.
So anytime you need to understand relationships between different things.
Exactly. That's where Spanner Graph shines. And what's cool is it works seamlessly with all the other stuff Spanner's good at, like relational databases, search, even generative AI.
Like a Swiss Army knife for data management, handles all sorts of stuff. That's a great analogy. Really powerful and flexible.
And to make it even better, they've got this new open source tool that lets you visually query Spanner Graph, so you don't need to be a database expert to use it.
Yep. Another example of them making powerful tools easier to use. Definitely a theme with Google Cloud these days. Okay, let's move on to BigQuery. That's Google's fully managed data warehouse. They've got this new thing called BigQuery Metastore. Sounds intriguing.
BigQuery Metastore. Intriguing is one word for it. What's it all about? Break it down for me.
It's all about metadata. Think of it as a central place to manage all the info about your data.
Metadata. Now, I know it's important, but can you explain it in a way that doesn't make my head spin?
Sure. Metadata is basically data about your data. It tells you where your data is stored, what format it's in, how it's organized, all that good stuff.
So it's like the catalog for your data warehouse.
Yeah.
Tells you what's on each shelf.
Exactly. And BigQuery Metastore keeps all that metadata in one place, so it's much easier to manage and find the data you need, especially when you're dealing with huge amounts of data.
That makes sense. Makes it less of a headache to find what you're looking for.
Right. And to make it even better, they've made BigQuery Metastore work with open data formats like Apache Iceberg.
So more freedom to choose the tools and stuff you want to use with it.
Precisely. It's all about giving you more flexibility. Okay, let's switch gears again. Talk about deploying software, getting your app out there smoothly and reliably. That's super important.
No doubt. One little hiccup can cause big problems. So what's Google Cloud doing to help with that?
Well, they've got Cloud Deploy, a service that's all about making deployments smooth and automatic, safer and way more efficient.
Like having air traffic control for your software releases, make sure everything takes off and lands without a hitch.
Haha, exactly. And they've added some new stuff to Cloud Deploy to make it even better.
Tell me more. What kind of improvements are we talking about?
Okay, first, there's this thing called repair rollout automation. So imagine you're deploying a new version of your app and something goes wrong.
Uh-oh, never a good feeling. Happens to the best of us.
Don't panic. Repair rollout automation kicks in. It can automatically try to deploy again or even roll back to the previous version that was working fine. Minimizes downtime and saves you from pulling your hair out.
A safety net for your deployments. Nice. So what else is new?
They've also got these things called deployment blackout windows.
Blackout windows. Okay, what are those?
They let you block deployments during specific times. Like if you've got a big product launch coming up or you know there's going to be a ton of traffic, you can use a blackout window to make sure nothing gets deployed and messes things up.
So like putting a do not disturb sign on your app during those critical times.
Exactly. Keeps everything stable and prevents any nasty surprises. And then there's timed promotion automation.
Time promotion. Sounds interesting. What's that all about?
It lets you schedule exactly when a new release should go live, gives you more control, and makes sure everyone's ready for the new stuff.
Like setting a timer for your software launch.
Yeah.
No more scrambling at the last minute.
Precisely. All these new features in Cloud Deploy, they just give you more control, more flexibility, and more peace of mind when you're getting your software out there.
Impressive stuff. Google Cloud's really stepping up their game. It's clear they're all about giving developers and businesses the tools they need to succeed.
They are. Speaking of helping businesses, let's finish up with Google Cloud Migration Center. This is their service for helping companies move their stuff to the cloud.
Yeah, migrating can be a huge pain, especially for bigger companies with like tons of servers and data and all that.
Absolutely. So Google Cloud Migration Center tries to make it easier. It's like a central hub for planning the whole move, figuring out what needs to happen, and then actually executing the migration. Keeps everything organized.
Like a moving company for all your digital stuff. Helps you pack everything up and get it to your new cloud home safely.
Perfect analogy. And they focus a lot on database assessment. Makes sense because databases are often the most important part of a company's IT setup.
Yeah, got to make sure those are moved over properly.
Right. So Google Cloud Migration Center helps you assess your databases in three main areas.
What are they?
First, there's discovery. That's about finding all the databases you have, like taking inventory of everything you need to move.
So you know what you're dealing with before you start packing boxes.
Exactly. Then there's technical fit assessment. This is about seeing if your databases will actually work properly on Google Cloud, like making sure your furniture will fit through the doors of your new house.
Don't end up with a couch stuck in the hallway.
Haha, exactly. And lastly, there's cost estimation. They give you an idea of how much it'll cost to move your databases. Important for budgeting.
Makes sense. Got to know what you're getting into financially.
Absolutely. The whole point of Google Cloud Migration Center is to make the move to the cloud as smooth as possible. No surprises, just a clear roadmap to your new cloud home.
Wow, we've really explored a lot of Google Cloud Platform in this deep dive, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. But that's what's so cool about cloud computing. It's always changing, always something new to discover.
Absolutely. So before we get too lost in the clouds, so to speak, what are your main takeaways from all these updates? Anything really jump out at you?
One thing that really struck me is how much Google Cloud is focused on making a platform that works for everyone, no matter what you need.
Yeah, I see that too. We've seen new VMs for specific tasks, tools that make tough stuff like Kubernetes way easier.
Right, and they're putting a lot of effort into making these powerful technologies accessible, whether you're a coding pro or just starting out with the cloud.
It's like they're saying, come on in, we've got the tools you need, whatever you're building.
Exactly. And they're not forgetting about security either, or open source collaboration, all that good stuff.
Right, it's not just about giving you the tools, but making sure they're secure, reliable, and work well with other things. Got to have that whole ecosystem.
They're finding that balance between being innovative and being practical, which is super important for any cloud platform that wants to be successful.
So thinking about all these new features and services, what's the big question our listeners should be asking themselves?
I think it boils down to, what can I do with all this? Google Cloud's giving you the building blocks, but it's up to you to get creative, use your imagination, and build something amazing.
It's a challenge, in a way, to go out there, experiment, see what's possible with all this new cloud power.
Totally. The possibilities are endless, and I'm excited to see what people come up with. Google Cloud's giving you the tools. Now it's time to build something awesome.
Well said. That wraps up our deep dive into Google Cloud Platform for today. We covered a ton, from AI to security to making things easier to manage.
It's been a blast, and hopefully everyone listening now has a better understanding of what's happening in the world of cloud computing. It's an exciting time to be in this space, that's for sure.
If you're eager to learn more, check out the original newsletter. We'll link in the show notes. Always more to explore.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and see what you can create with the power of the cloud.
That's great advice. Until next time, happy clouding, everyone.